I'm gonna be totally honest with you. While I've always been mindful of my money, I never really thought that I had any official money habits that made any real difference. I thought I did the same thing as everyone else. But then people were often surprised when I told them that I've never been in any serious debt, my bills have always been paid on time, and I've always managed to stay in a pretty good financial situation. And that's even before I had my business. So I realized there are specific things that I do that have helped me. So in this video, I'm gonna share with you the 7 money habits that have completely changed my life. So hopefully they can help you too. There are specific things that I have done in my life subconsciously, like I just kind of knew them and no one really taught it to me. And then things that I did learn through grueling research and reading a lot of like really boring books. There are things I started doing that actually made my life a lot easier and better because I didn't have to think about money as much, except for making more of it, which is always super fun. I'm curious to hear which of these is one that you are not doing yet or you need to work on. Let me know in the comments. I look forward to getting to know you and having you inside of this community. If you're not subscribed to this channel quite yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe and notification bell so you can be notified of future videos on money like honey. So let's go ahead and get into it. Number 1 is automating all of my bills. I have been a huge fan of putting everything on auto pay. Any kind of bills that I have for my internet, for like water bill, electricity, for anything, so that I never have to miss those deadlines. I never have to really think about them. The biggest thing that you need to know, especially if you're a business owner, is that we don't have a lot of like energy or capacity left on our head outside of what is already there, right? So we're focusing a lot on our business, and then we focus a lot on our family or friends. And honestly, the rest of the time, I just personally want to hang out and chill. I don't want to have to think about all the to-dos that I still have to do. And if there's a way for me to automate that or systemize it or make it easier, I will freaking do it. So what I just make sure to do is that connect every single auto pay bill to the one checking account where I know money is always going to be. And that's pretty much it. Like I never really check it except to confirm things and stuff like that is just like out of mind, out of sight. I don't even think that analogy makes sense here, but anyway. Number 2 is automating my credit card payments and paying the full statement balance every month. That's something my mom taught me. As soon as I was getting my first credit card years ago, she said, Camila, do not buy anything on the credit card that you can't actually pay off immediately. So in the very beginning, I would actually pay my credit cards like weekly. I would just pay it in full every week. So I was using it for cash back and that's it. So I was using my credit card to get cash back, like extra, yay, rewards, like fun, I can get free lunch type of thing. I figured out that I don't have to pay the full balance every month. I get to have like an extra month to pay it off. As long as I'm paying the statements in full, the full statement balance, I'm good and I'm not going to get any interest that I have to pay. So I have it set up on auto pay as well. It is connected to my main checking account where I always have money and I always ensure, I will check before my credit card is due. I will check how much is due. I'll make sure that I have enough money in my checking account at the date that it's supposed to be drawn out, but I don't actually pay it myself. I just have it set up automatically. So that actually eliminates a lot of headaches for me in terms of potentially missing payments. That has happened to me a few times because how can you keep up, especially if you have a lot of credit cards? Like I run a business. I have like I have 7 credit cards that I use, which is mind blowing. So many credit cards. I don't use all of them anymore, but I use them for different purposes. But that's a lot of deadlines and due dates to keep in mind, plus bills and plus everything and plus personal credit cards. And it's like, there's no way I could possibly ever keep that organized if I didn't just put it on auto pay. So gives you motivation to make sure you're making that money, right, in your business or in your job or, side hustles or whatever. And then you're not spending more than you can afford, right? It's really important that you're not using the credit card because you just want to like buy something and you can't pay for it, right? So that's kind of a habit that you want to have that's integrated into this number 2. Number 3, automatically putting a certain amount of money into my savings accounts or investment accounts every month. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to basically trick myself. I have it set up right now where it's not taking a lot. It's taking like $150 a month and it's taking it from my checking account to the Vanguard account. I don't notice those payments. Honestly, I don't notice it. I don't look at it. I'm just kind of like whatever, right? So it doesn't really affect my mentality, if that makes sense. And I get to trick myself to want to make sure that I'm making more. Obviously, that's really important. So I'm actually focusing on generating more cash flow, but also I'm not consciously like, oh no, I have to make sure I have to put put more money into this, and I have to put more money into this. And I don't do that manually, so it doesn't feel like as painful, I guess. And I do the same thing with my savings account. So I started my savings account probably only like a year and a half ago. So again, this is pretty new for me, and it has honestly just changed my life entirely, because I no longer have to worry about if I have a lower month in my business, if something was to happen, if I get sick or whatever. Like, I have that money put off to the side for at least 6 months. It just gives so much freedom and so much sense of security that it's so important. I put off $1,000 from my business checking account into my high yield savings account automatically. So again, I don't notice it because it's getting taken out of my business checking account versus personal checking account. And I have way more money in the business checking account. So I pay myself a salary from the business into the personal. So the personal doesn't have as much money than the business, which is why I directly take it from the business one. So I'm not going to talk about taxes and how that looks in there, but because of that, I don't notice it. Basically, I know it sounds crazy, but I just don't. So if there's a specific number that you feel like you wouldn't notice, whether it's $50 or $100 or $1,000, if you can put that on auto transfers, it's a lot easier, because then let's say that you don't check your high yield savings account for a few months. You check it after a few months and you're like, oh wow, there's $3,000 in there or $4,000 in there. You didn't even notice it happened. That is honestly such a huge thing that has shifted my sense of security when it comes to my life, and being able to just put off money to the side without really noticing it, I guess, if that makes sense. I have to play tricks on myself. Number 4 is taking advantage of credit card rewards, especially sign-up bonuses when making big purchases or investments. So I love to invest in myself, and I sign up with coaches, and that is not cheap. I recently I did a previous video where I talked about which credit cards I used to run my business. And there was one card that I talked about there where I got 0% APR, and I was planning on signing up for a program that was about $10,000. So in most cases like that, I would typically go on a payment plan. Now, what we do as coaches is when somebody is choosing a payment plan option, typically that payment plan, if you put all those payments together, it does total out to be way more than if you were to just pay in full. So I found a credit card that had a great sign-up bonus that was like $750, and I got 0% APR. So I was able to put that $9,000 or $10,000 onto that card, and I got to spread out my own payments over 12 months, making my monthly payments a lot lower. And I also am making 1.5% cash back on it. So I'm actually coming out way better than if I was to just get on a payment plan with this coach that I'm signing up with. I love being able to find different sign-up rewards or bonuses and things like that to serve me. Number 5, have accounts spread across different banks, so that you don't have to just log into one bank and then you see everything that you have, and put money in different places across different banks so you don't see it all together. We have a specific set point when it comes to how much money we're allowing to have in our checking account at any given time. Something that we're used to seeing is what we've allowed ourselves to have, and typically, whether you're doing really great in your business or life or not so great, usually it's gonna be around the same benchmark, right? It's the same thing with our weight. I'm very familiar with attempting to lose weight and all that stuff. Whether you're eating whatever and moving the normal amount, you're usually going to be in the same like 5-pound range no matter what you do. And in order for you to lose weight, you're gonna have to do something radically different to really it feels hard, right? You're gonna have to move that set point to something else. So we're not even gonna talk about that now, but if you know that you have a specific set point, when you have your money kind of across different bank accounts, especially checking accounts, you get to trick your brain in that you think that you have the amount of money in your one checking account that's your main one, and let's say it's about $30,000 in there, right? If that's your set point, and usually it goes to like 35 or 30, maybe 28, like it's kind of in that range no matter what you do. So then you would actually create another checking account in a completely different bank that you don't check as often. You could set up an automatic transfer that happens where maybe you put off $500 every month and you don't even notice it, right? And before you know it, you're starting to build up the amount of money you have in this other account, and you're kind of tricking your brain. You're actually building up the amount of money you have access to, but you're still not kind of like freaking out and trying to spend it all because, oh my gosh, I made more money, let's spend it all, which I think is a huge thing that a lot of people do. I used to do the same thing. Anytime I would have a big launch or I would make a good amount of money, I'm like, oh my God, let's spend it all, whatever, let's just do that. And obviously that's not helpful for anyone, especially me, right? Well, I guess the people that were making the money off of me, great. Not for me, right? For our longevity, for my future, not a good idea. So it's something I do now. I have a separate account that I rarely check. That's in Vanguard for my investing. I have a separate account for my high yield savings account. I have multiple accounts for my crypto stuff. I have a few different accounts for just a bunch of different things. So I'm kind of spread across so that it tricks my brain to feel like, okay, cool, I'm still within the set point that I'm working with, and I actually have way more money than I realize. Number 6 is something I started working on a few years ago, and it got pretty bad when I was single, and it was buying a lot of crap, honestly, from Instagram ads and Facebook ads. I mean, it is so easy for us to make these impulse purchases. You're just like,
ooh, that sounds interesting and the price is so perfect. Let me just go and buy it right away.
Then I would have a gazillion boxes that arrived, all these packages, and I'm like,
ooh, what is this? I don't remember buying it.
I'm sure that there were some purchases I made that never came. I know there's at least 2 that I purchased. I later was like, hey, didn't I buy this one thing? Obviously, I couldn't find the receipt because how can you find that when you have a gazillion emails? I don't think it ever arrived, but who knows how many other things I bought and they never arrived. I really needed to curb my impulse spending that was going on. So what I had started doing is, instead of, when I saw something on my Instagram ad that was like,
ooh, this is interesting, this is curious.
Instead of buying it right away, I would actually save the link. I would either text it to myself, or I would share it. Like if it's an Instagram story, I would share it to my other account. I would give myself at least 24 to 48 hours before making a purchase or making a decision. I would just sit there, send it to myself, and then like, cool. So often that very act of just sending it to myself kind of scratched the itch, because afterwards I felt kind of good and I forgot about that offer, that product, which obviously means, well, good for you, Camila, because you didn't waste money. Now, in some situations, I kept thinking about the product later on. So I would try to actually do a little bit extra research, like, am I gonna do this? Am I gonna use this thing? When am I gonna use it? And then if I still wanted it and I still felt like, okay, you know what, this is actually gonna be an informed decision, I'm going to buy this thing, then I would purchase it. Otherwise, I would try to not act so emotionally when it comes to making these purchases. Even if it feels like an amazing deal and oh my gosh, I have so much FOMO, I really tried to calm myself down and think rationally. And number 7, investing in myself that will create an ROI, return on investment, for myself in various different ways. Whether it's financially because I'm investing in my business, investing in coaching or programs that I know will help my business grow, whether it's investing in advertising, whether it's investing in my own personal areas that I think need help, whether it's relationship coaching or signing up for a gym that I really feel excited about attending. I do not hesitate investing in that because I am my most important asset, right? And you are your most important asset. So if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not treating yourself and all you're doing is just budgeting and saving for someday later to enjoy your life, that's not gonna work. You're not gonna have a happy life because we only have a certain amount of time on this planet. I make sure that I splurge when it makes sense. If something's really important to me, I will splurge on it. If something is not that important, I'm pretty ruthless about not wasting money on it. Perfect example here is I am 31 and I just turned 31 a few months ago, and I just got my first car just a few months ago. Actually, it was around Black Friday. So at this moment, I've only had my car for maybe 5 months. So I had never owned a car up until this point. And I live in California. I've lived in California for over 3, maybe even 4 years now. Anytime I tell people this, they're kind of like,
what? How did you?
It was actually way more financially smart for me to use Uber and Lyft than to get a car, because I wasn't traveling that much. And anytime I went somewhere far, I went with a friend who had a car. So honestly, it wasn't important to me. And I didn't care that people thought I was weird, because I knew it was a smart financial decision for me and no one was gonna make me feel guilty about it. You know what I mean? If there's something that you honestly couldn't give less craps about, like, who cares? Don't spend money on stuff that you don't care about. Don't spend money on things that are only gonna be there to make other people happy. You need to make yourself happy. You are your most important asset, so treat yourself as such. That is what I got for you. This is a long video. Thanks for sticking around. You are so awesome. And of course, as always, stay sweet, guys. Bye.